Effects of crude oil price on stock market. Crude oil price does play a major role in the economic scenario around the globe. But how?
Every business requires transportation, and all the transports requires petrol or diesel. The rise in the price of diesel and petrol will result in the increment of transportation cost of a business. This increase in transportation cost will further increase the investment required in business. This acts as a major cyclic process that keeps on going in the market. When the price of crude oil increases, it eventually leads to the increase in cost of doing business, which forces the businessmen to apply check on the use of petrol and diesel. This decrease again brings down the price. And as the price comes down, there again is a surge in the use of oils. This cycle has been kept on driving, and probably will keep on driving the stock market. The different sectors of stock market react differently to the increase in the price of crude oil. So, first of all, let us check which are the most affected sectors of the stock market.
Tell me about the different sectors in detail.
Let's start with the tire companies. The increase in the price of crude oil adversely affects the tire companies. 35% of the raw material of tire companies depend on crude oil derivatives, especially synthetic rubber. The prominent companies of this segment suffers declination due to increase in price of crude oil. The profit margin of tire companies badly suffer due to the rise. The rubber prices around the globe are closely connected with the prices of crude oil. The connection is established due to the synthetic rubber. Synthetic rubber is used more than the natural rubber for making tires. And synthetic rubber is produced using crude oil. Fluctuation in the price of crude oil causes a similar fluctuation in the price of synthetic rubber. The situation becomes very bad, as the fluctuation of synthetic rubber gives the skin to the traders of natural rubber, for putting the flesh of increment in price. Second, auto companies. As the price of crude oil increases, the automobile owners have less disposable income to use for their purchase. This badly affects the growth and number of automobile industry. The changes in automobile sales reflects consumers' expectation regarding the oil price. So, an increasing price of crude oil also imposes a threat on the automobile companies. The surge in crude oil prices not only brings down the sale, but it also forces the investors to put more money in, for the transportation purpose. Due to the surge, the profit margin is also affected. And, as the tire companies also are impacted, they also add a lot more pain for the automobile companies. Because, we all know no automobile can run without tires. Third, paint companies. The crude oil is the main derivative for the paint manufacturing units. As a reflection of the above movement, the paint companies often have to increase the prices of their products. The increase in prices of their products lead to a fall in the sales numbers of the company. Thus, rise in crude oil price is a bad omen for the paint companies too. The fluctuation in prices of crude oil causes the price of stocks of paint companies fluctuate. And, the fluctuation is in inverse direction to that of crude oil. If the crude oil prices increases, the stock's price of paint companies decreases. It also puts pressure on profit margins of company. To cope with this pressure, the companies increase the prices of their products. Fourth, oil marketing companies. If someone suffers most due to increase in the price of crude oil, it is this sector. There exists a direct relation between this sector and the crude oil. It is business of UNCs to refine oil and supply it to the customers all around. Imagine what your state will be if the only thing you require for your business becomes very costly. The UNCs to replicate this price change cannot increase the price of petrol and diesel, as they are forced by the government not to do so. The government of the country has to put in some extra efforts to help this sector, as this sector finds its direct use in our day-to-day life. So, to keep away the random effect of crude oil prices from us, the government makes some extra financial improvisations for the UNCs. However, the efforts of government inversely depend on the distance of elections. Fifth, airline companies. The most tough phase for an airline industry is the one in which crude oil price surges. Competition in the airline industry is very high. as the passengers normally books ticket in the flight offering cheaper tickets. It is due to this reason the airline companies cannot increase the fare. This is the most important reason why airline companies report heavy losses during this phase. The surge in crude oil prices declined the profit of airline companies. The companies formulate strategies to neutralize the effect of crude oil prices. Managing an airline company during the rise of crude oil prices is very tough. Cosmetic companies. Crude oil derivatives account for a major part of raw material costs of several cosmetic products. Notable derivatives are LAB and LLP. Increase in LAB and LLP will impact the detergent and personal care products. Experts believe cosmetics account for 15–25% of the total FMCG industry, and so the rise in crude oil can shrink the margins by 7–8%. These are the various affected sectors of the stock market due to crude oil. In most of the cases, these sectors use derivatives of crude as their raw material. It can be as high as 50% of the total cost or service. Any movement in crude oil price can fluctuate the margins of the company.
For more information visit protradings.com.